I know I haven't had a meetup in an entire month, which is absolutely weird for me. Been busy in the meantime, but you know, definitely interesting. So from here on out, all these meetups are going to be depending on who wants to speak. So the next one will be the second week of December. And so those topics are going to be dependent on whoever actually wants to give a talk. So it very well could be like how tonight I have a Ruby talk and I have an Android talk. Who knows what next month will be? So you just have to keep an eye out. For those who have not joined the University JavaScript group, you might want to do so because the other groups are going away this week. So you'll only know what's going on through the University JavaScript group, which will be renamed to University Tech. Just so it's a generalized. You just have to keep an eye out for the topics, how each month is going to be. As I find out the speakers, I'll at least list the languages that they're going to speak in before I actually get their title and know exactly what they are going to talk about.
They'll probably be speaking in English.
I should throw something at you. So I always want to throw something at you. You realize this. You always do this to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, darling. So, pretty interesting. We'll see how this all plays out. That being said, I am open to anybody who wants to give a talk in December. You guys got a month? Who knows? It's the second Tuesday, so it's still before the holidays, which is pretty easy going and whatnot. Am I allowed to talk about our other thing? Or at least generally say about it?
Sure.
Okay. So speaking of me keeping busy, I'm also involved in organizing an Orlando Dev Meetup. For those who are in the Dev Slack, this is going to be very much a technical, along with, how are we phrasing it?
Soft skills and professional development.
Yeah. So it's a mixture between the soft skills, professional development, and a technical talk as well. So it'll be a very similar structure to the way we do it here, where we have two smaller talks. It'll just be something that will help add on to your skill level. You guys will, it could be interviewing, it could be how to freelance better, it could be how to manage certain things, you know, who knows. And then there also will be a technical talk at each one as well. So we'll be able to appease both sides for you guys. We are still working on pinning down the date.
I think the date's been decided, the venue is up in the air.
Okay.
So it should be first Thursday of December.
Okay, so the first Thursday of December, we will send out for all of you developers who all should be included in this. We will be sending out a big ol' announcement, considering the fact that it's me, Jeremy, and Sergio who are organizing this. Sergio being one of the curators for this Slack. So if you are not in this Slack, you need to find me and message me through Meetup or through Facebook, however you guys are connected with me, and give me your email address so I can put you in that Slack, so therefore you will know. Most likely that meetup will be in downtown though. So you guys gotta drive. I think you'll be okay, because most of you guys drove from downtown to get to me. So I think you guys will be able to be okay for that. Oh, you guys are able to watch
downtown?
me. That was really creepy.
Downtown Orlando.
Downtown Orlando.
Oh, I drove all the way from downtown Tampa.
Oh, well look at you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, hey, it'll be a good one. That'll be a really good meetup to go to. Another exciting news, let's see, we have Orlando Tech Meetup happening next week. This one's a big one. So this is branching off of with Women in Tech. It's a big, like, national day with Women in Tech. So we're pairing up with WeVenture, who is doing a big announcement on all the different female tech ran startups, all of that. They're doing that during the day at Canvas, and then that night we have female startups presenting at Orlando Tech. So that's pretty exciting to go to, not just for women, but obviously everybody else. It's gonna be a big deal. You need to go. You'll see my lovely face at the sign-in desk, so, you know, you won't pretend that you know absolutely nobody out of the group of 200 people. You guys should go. So it's next Thursday, the 19th. Another development that we have, it's the first Wednesday, isn't it?
What is?
Orlando JS. No, third.
No. third Wednesday this month, I believe.
Okay, so next week. No, it already happened. Is it tomorrow?
No, I think
No.
it's third Wednesday.
JavaScript is next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Next Wednesday. So next Wednesday is Orlando JS. That is downtown. That's at Code School, correct?
I believe so.
Yes.
They changed
this one-
venue on me, so.
Yeah, last month was Purple Rock. This month, I believe, is back at Code School.
Okay, so that's at Code School. That's next Wednesday night. That's going to be the big whoop-dee JavaScript meetup to go to. So I'm sending all of my lovely JavaScript people. Go. Go. Huh?
That's a bye.
Bye. Still come to my once a month meetup, but at least you still get your JavaScript fix. So you're good. Let's see, what else? I think that covers everything on our crazy ass list of stuff that's happening. You guys, obviously, anything else?
I mean, if you want to pimp Orlando PHP for me, that's the first Wednesday of the month.
See, she doesn't like PHP either.
I don't do I have any PHP users in here? Oh shit, alright. So yes. He runs a PHP meetup here in Orlando. So you can talk about that because I know nothing about your meetup.
It's a PHP meetup, and it's like PHP. It is stable and not really all that exciting.
Is it like Alcoholics Anonymous?
No, we do not talk about how much we don't want to use PHP anymore.
All right.
But
so,
first Wednesday of every month.
cool.
I'm hoping to get someone to come out and talk about PHP 7 next month, since that should be releasing at the end of this month.
I'll do it.
Fuck you.
Alright. Gotta love dynamics here. Yeah, if you guys weren't here for my 1-year JavaScript meetup last month, that got awkward real quick because these fuckers tried to make me cry.
Didn't try. Succeeded.
Yeah.
Just not when we wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't awkward. It was
Touching and sweet and all that kind of crap.
those things.
It wasn't really touching and sweet. A lot of it was just a bunch of jokes.
Aren't they the same words as awkward though?
Touching and sweet is awkward. That word that fits very perfectly with tech, very perfectly. So that happened, you know, because they decided to make me feel special for one day. It doesn't happen very often, so I gotta put up with you kids all the time. All right. Well, without further ado, McLean over here is gonna talk about some good old Rails stuff. At least he's an entertaining speaker for those who don't know Rails. Huh?
Wait, what?
High bar, man.
You're an
High bar.
entertaining speaker.
Oh, okay.
Let me switch this over really quickly.
Still.
Oh, that is not right.
Make sure display settings.
Yeah, that's better.
That was good.
We're playing 2-player. That's what I call it. It's my Mario Kart 2-player. You want to laugh? Michael Miller just texted me saying, "Don't fuck up."
Well, it's
Fucking up.
yeah, Feel free to shout out suggestions because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Change the refresh rate.
Yeah. Click on that. Let's
There's
see.
going to be two numbers that are the same.
No.
Nope.
No?
Go to scaled.
Scaled.
Click on 1080p really quickly.
You did it, man.
Yay!
Good
Teamwork.
Good.
How many people did you pick the display setting?
This only happens every time.
Yeah, has there been a meetup where we had no technical difficulties with the sound? Not the
Last
sound,
week
the
was
video.
okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much everyone. All hardware sucks.
All right.
Yeah, you're always going to deal with some issues. Watch. Here he is right now. Let's see. Let's watch this. Refresh rate.
All right.
Wrong
I
answer.
know he's watching this.
Well, thanks, Mike. All right. So, making controllers not suck in Rails is what we're going to be talking about today. Chris, I work here at CloudSpace. I'm a Ruby programmer, a JavaScript programmer. do some SAS things, and a whole bunch of other stuff too. I'm not going to list because I don't like those languages. Well, alright, so catch up, because we are now a meetup of several different languages. If you've never used a controller before, this is kind of what a controller looks like in Ruby on Rails. And pretty much it's there to implement all your services, run your code, make calls from your models, and pass along data to your views. Kind of think of it as like the glue for your MVC application. If you have never worked in Ruby on Rails, pretty much it's server-rendered web pages in a very object-oriented language that looks a lot like that. And I want to talk about controllers specifically because I feel like it's one of the first things you learn in an MVC framework, and probably one of the last things you end up trying to improve on. You spend a lot of time trying to learn all the different services, all the different object types, and spending very little time concentrating on your controllers. And oftentimes that can lead to very messy, very incomplete code. So I guess that's what we're going to talk about. So problem I kind of want to face you guys with, if you have or haven't built a Rails application, you have some sort of admin interface, and now that resource needs to be used on another page. You'll probably end up having a controller like this. I don't think this is exactly what comes out of the scaffolding tool that comes with Rails, but it's probably very close. You'll end up having an action for your index page, which displays all your things, and a page to create a new, to fill in a form for a new record, and the action that actually creates your record, and something to handle environments. Now, if you wanted to make some of this work with something like a home controller, you might be tempted to do something like this, and you should not do that. This always leads to pain, because even though it's only a little bit of code we're seeing here, it's still starting the trend of trying to duplicate code across different classes. And that always ends the problems of duplication and needing to update several pieces of code in different places. It's overall just not what we want to shoot for. And I guess a lot of the problems end up coming out of MVC controllers traditionally having three main responsibilities where we really want to shoot for as little as humanly possible in our classes. They are often responsible for CRUD operations, the actual implementation of your logic, and then calling the rendering of your page. And what I'm going to shoot for is trying to cut down on some of the responsibility that our controllers actually have, or at least moving it somewhere that it's more maintainable. And when in doubt, I always try to look at the front end. Front-end frameworks are usually very, very good at handling the use of controllers, because UIs are pretty much made up of almost entirely view controllers. And they have a lot of experience in sort of looking at different ways to abstract out these different types of services to be more than just models using controllers. I think two that really work well in Rails is the idea that you get in reactive mix-ins. And if you've ever built something on Flux architecture, Flux actions. So let's look at refactoring, or at least what we're going to start with. Refactor is probably not the right word. We have our events controller that has an index action, which renders a view. That view will go through all of our events and print out the name of each event. I think the first thing we're going to want to look at that's sort of a helpful thing in your toolbox are the idea of helper methods, which aren't necessarily strict to controllers in Ruby on Rails. The helper method sort of exists as its own thing in a helpers directory in your Rails project, but pretty much it lets you define a module, tack on a method to it, and that method does a thing that you can reference in your views. So here, if we want to make some mock events, we stick them in an events helper, and we can reference that right in the view. But we can also have that live on the controller as well. There is a helper method that exists on controllers that can help you, that sort of make a method on your controller act as a helper method. So here, even though it's a little bit longer, a little bit more obtuse, I moved the logic around getting all of your events, moved it to private, and told Rails that's now a helper method. So instead of needing to set an instance variable, we could use it just by the method calling the view. And this does two things for us. First one, it removes the need to have a method for each of our routes. There's no longer a one-to-one mapping of our routes file to our controller, which can make it a lot easier to, a lot less code to maintain and a lot less boilerplate for spinning up new routes, new actions, and it keeps our controller small. Because as long as all we need to do is print out or make use of that record and not actually do any saving or CRUD actions, we don't need to include that method. So our index method's entirely gone. And because we move everything to private, we no longer have to depend on that code being called explicitly from that class. And it can be moved around wherever we want it to. If we want to make a service that managed all the events, we can make a service that managed all the events. Making sense so far?
Do you have a sample of the service?
There is going to be an example toward the end. I'm going to show how all this kind of works together.
So why not use like encapsulation, like have a class that does the work that
We
you
are-
give to both?
Because we're going to keep going forward and we'll cover those
All right,
things.
well,
So another thing that sort of that's done very easily in Ruby is the idea of a decorator or just including modules. And decorators are kind of a way to let unrelated things share the logic. When you're sort of in that weird in-between spot of you're kind of grasping for wanting to use something like multiple inheritance, but you don't want to use multiple inheritance. And you don't want to use strict just class extension. So the example I always like to shoot for, you have bird and a plane. Both of them are things that fly, but are both very fundamentally different objects and work fundamentally differently. And all we want to happen is our bird and our plane to know how to fly. So we define a module that says this thing is flyable, and we can include it in each of our classes. It's not just a Ruby thing. If you want to use decorators in JavaScript, here's a very convoluted solution to that. And, Rails gives us a thing called a concern, which works almost exactly like just a Ruby module, specific toward being used in our models and our controllers. So this way we can share logic between those different services. So if I wanted to have all of my controllers know how to use events, I can just make an events module or an events concern and include that in my class. Not just like a module though. There's some other cool things that it can do. If we want to add any kind of filtering or do some fun metaprogramming stuff before the class is actually used, you can do that in this included block, which will fire, I believe, when it's actually included through the inheritance chain. So don't quote me on that. And if you really want to, you can make use of classical inheritance for things. It's still a very, very useful tool in classes, especially if there's specific things that you want to happen across all of your controllers, or you want to make use of any kind of gems that you include. Role management is a good example. If anyone's ever used something like Pundit. And I have an example that's going to show all of this stuff kind of working together. So because I'm not actually on a project right now, I made a snack app. Very, very simple Rails app written in Ruby on Rails. You can request snacks, which adds a requested snack. You can endorse snacks. And it has inventories of snacks. You can also view all of your snacks in your snacks link and all of your inventories and inventories. So we have an example of several different pages in the traditional MVC framework making use of 3 different models, where you have an endorsement model, you have a snack model and an inventory model. All of them need to sort of be used across these different controllers. So we're going to pick snack. No, we're not going to pick snack. We're going to pick, yeah, why not snack? Very, very, well, I could have probably done a little bit better on some of the code for this, but it's an example of our snacks controller,
So you started building this last week, so.
which makes use of, which we see we're including snackable and endorsementable. And this, and notice we don't actually, like, we're not including our index method, we're not including our edit method, we're not including our new method. And all of our actual methods, although it doesn't look like the controller is that much smaller, everything we're doing in each of these methods is very specific. There's no wasted code in any of these controllers, really. I mean, I guess you could say you can move the strings to a different common location, but it's a sample app. So for here, we can just assume we can treat our snack pretty much the same in each of these methods, despite them being used differently. And we have all of the logic around getting snacks, loading snacks, and fetching params from our snacks in a single location. So here we have a method snacks, which gets all of our snacks. We have a method snack that defines the way of getting a snack across all of these different, all these different action types. Let's see, what was. And then in our views, I can just assume I know how to get snacks, and that snacks is being passed down appropriately. Any questions or any comments?
You guys are allowed to speak up. It's okay.
Yeah, I think I went through this a little too quickly.
Yeah, it's fine.
So is that all functional? Is that all functional? Click things. Can you add
Oh,
snacks?
yeah. Yes, I can. So I can request a snack. There's already beer, so I'm going to do bar. Bar.
Let's say you put beer on the snack list, didn't you?
And we have bar. Now I can go view all of my inventories, which there's only one inventory.
That's pretty metal.
And then all of these snacks are endorsable. If I'm to go to inventories, I can add to the inventory. And now they're listed under inventory and are no longer in the request line.
What's the database you're using?
Postgres. But let me go back here. Yes, but you don't write in code. You don't write code in Ruby. Why should you care? Server rendered web pages are not going to go anywhere. They're never going to go anywhere. At least not for a very long time. It's way too easy to throw up a very, very simple sort of like Rails app for prototyping. You'll use it at some point in your life. Whether or not the MVC framework you use ends up supporting stuff like this, there's still useful things to sort of keep in your back pocket. Decorators and helper methods are used in a lot of other places, not just Ruby on Rails. Flux architecture works almost explicitly on having helper methods and other components to sort of other structures to keep things out of your controllers. And a lot of the reason why the pattern that I showed before is even why it's useful is change can often be a lot more costly than the time it takes to write the pattern. A lot of what I showed came out of sort of the frustration. It was introduced on a project that had a lot of change introduced to it. It was only after the first several weeks that there was a complete architectural overhaul on how the entire thing worked, and we needed to be able to respond to it. And I just sort of took that and just ran with it. Being able to change on a dime can be very, very important if you're working on a client project. So being able to do something like, I just want all of the logic around managing my events moved from here to here can be very helpful. And if you have any questions, get in touch. GitHub's, G is GitHub, S is Slack, the Orlando Dev Slack. Feel free to talk to me. I'm a lot better at answering questions one-on-one than I am up in front of a stage. So feel free to talk to me. Any questions before I'm done? I can go back to the code, show some other things.
Where are the tests?
No. Scott, you can write the tests for me if you want. No, I wasn't writing tests for a simple presentation app. I mean, you can test the code though.
Okay. Who uses Android in here? Pretty sure nobody. Oh, yeah.
Uses?
Yes, I just
Or
said
develops?
users. Develops Android, whatever. Okay.
What's the difference? Same.
Alright, so I have this from Ethan. Usually get webhooks. Not gonna lie, October was a whirlwind of a month, so I'm slacking. So I have this book. Who does not have a ticket? Okay. Let me do that really quickly while this one gets a shit together.
And he's already ready.
Come on, words.
Damn you. Alright, give me a second. Let me do this. Oh, I don't need it. Actually, I should write down the photos. Because how many of you did grab tickets? Like most of you? So I'm at 162, so we'll see. Alright, raise your hands again if you didn't grab a ticket. I don't need the other part of it, so you're all done. And for those who've never been here before and never heard me do this speech, you will know why I don't need the other ticket when Ian's done talking. Also, too, we buy the first round at World Beer after this, so stick around. You want an Android book?
Probably not.
Probably not. Alright, go ahead and tell people how not to fuck up.
Is camera the microphone now?
No, you don't need it. It might,
Awesome.
We changed up our mic system.
Okay, so screenshot redaction, helping you not F star 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 up. I'm not sure what that means.
You can just say fuck up.
I don't know, Clean wrote it.
I dropped
All right.
something up on YouTube. It's not.
It's my talk, Caitlin. So, what is that? Everybody's taking a screenshot with their phone, right? They're from their computer. Everybody? Yeah? You've done that? Everybody's done that. Okay, so who's done that, sent it, and then went, oh shit. Right? Pretty much we've all done that. And they're like, yeah, if you could delete that picture, that would be great because my bank account number's on there or somebody's email address I shouldn't have given you. Whatever it is, giving away information is actually really, really easy. It's like way too easy. So the idea of this app that I'm making is to try to catch that. So you take a screenshot with your phone, and then it tries to look at it and says, hey, you might want to look at this because if you give this to somebody and you didn't mean to, then you're going to give away this information. So that's the idea of helping you not fuck up. So don't talk to strangers. Everybody likes talking to strangers, though. I mean, your mom told you not to do it. Everybody does it and talking to you guys. So security is really hard because of that. It's really easy in your day-to-day life to forget that you have sensitive information, that you have other people's sensitive information, and automation is easy. So that's the idea here, that you make mistakes, so let's try to help you avoid making those mistakes. And the first thing that you need to do when you make an application is make sure anybody even wants the application. I had a pretty good feeling that people did, but to make sure, I had to ask people. Users do want it. Jeremy wants it. So, yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. I think he's surprised. So how do we accomplish that task? So OCR, does everybody know what that is? OCR? Have you ever typed in words into Google and then it's like, hey, here's a book. It's got like, here it is right there. A lot of that was done with OCR. Nowadays, all the new books are all, straight to text anyways in a digital format. But if you look at like a book from the 1600s, I don't think they really had computers, quite figured out like we do. So you need OCR. You scan the pages, a computer looks at the page and goes, oh, hey, I found all these words. This is probably part of the book. This is what we want. And it puts it into a computer-generated form. So you get pictures to legitimate words, like what those pictures represent, right? So the next step is, great, I have a list of words from this image, and I know where those words are in the image because OCR got that for me. So now what do I do? How do I decide that the word Bob is something I should get rid of, where the word strawberry is something that we want to keep? And my approach, I don't know if there's a better one, is dictionaries. So using an English dictionary and using a dictionary of English names, I'm actually able, for most people, find names that should be redacted and find words that we should probably keep because they're not important. So applying that with the OCR, we can finally present all of this information to the user by saying, hey, here's the screenshot, here's the words we found. We went ahead and automatically cleared those ones. Are you okay with this decision that I've made for you? And we let the user decide, like, yeah, that sounds great, or click through a couple things and decide what to maybe add in or maybe redact more words. So I'm going to demo this, but shout out to mostly the open source libraries. Google actually did most of the work for me because they have a library called Tesseract, and Tesseract is runs on everything pretty much, and anything that is OCR based probably owes something to Tesseract, it seems. Sergio, because he's not here, and the Android chat Slack was actually a big help. That's actually where this idea came from, because twice in one day somebody posted a phone number and then another person posted, I think it was an email address.
And his address.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was an actual address, like to their house. So probably not something you want to post to 1,000 strangers. Whoops. But that's what happened.
AKA, if anybody wants to raid Andrew Studnicki's house, let us know. We have his address.
Yeah, I think I still have it memorized. So the code will be there soon. It's not there right now. There's just a boilerplate library there. And like I said, Sergio, he's on it. All right, so the app. So I wanted to demo this just real quick. Basically, I have Slack. Everybody's on Orlando Devs, right? Yes, hopefully. Otherwise, I'm giving away all these people's information. Okay, so this is just one of the public channels in Orlando Devs Slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screenshot with the phone. And it's a little bit laggy, but you can see through 1 frame a second that something's happening.
It's pretty close to 1 frame a second.
It's already done on my phone, but all right. So what we get, and this is still a little rough. We can see that we have, this is basically like a debug mode, but this is pretty similar to what the user is actually going to interact with. It just needs to be cleaned up a lot. When all the green boxes we're looking at are actually words that we've identified that, yeah, that's probably not important. Packed with protein, I don't think that's a huge security risk. But Andrew Kozlik, we probably want to remove that. That's clearly somebody's name. You have David Yonker, it's missing Yonker, so that's a bug, and it's missing my first name. But otherwise, you can see instantly, we got a list of things that, hey, you might want to remove this stuff. And for the things that we missed, I can just go click through there, and you can see that it was yellow, which means that I overrode its decision, that like, no, I do want to remove, those words. And the idea from here is that we would then generate this with, blackout or whatever kind of option the user chooses for how to redact the information. and then now they have something that they can share, and obviously all the green stuff would be gone too. So does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, cool. So that's pretty much it. That's what we're going with. So hopefully soon that'll be something you can actually use on your Android phone only.
Do you automatically cross out or white out the information?
Yeah, the box idea was just so that you could read it. This is all really, really rough. I have been mostly working on the actual redaction part, like how to get the engine set up, how to get the dictionary set up, how to get all of this done on the background. I know you guys couldn't see it, but this is actually a fairly complex image, being that it has so many words. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a lot of words, but it takes a phone quite a while to process it. And it got all this done in about 4 seconds. So, like, all in the background, it pops up like a nice little notification telling you the progress and how many words are left to identify, and then it generates this image here, which is just showing you the screenshot with some canvas drawn on top of it. Anybody else? No? Do you guys want this app?
Yeah.
One guy, PHP guy wants it. All right.
Sorry.
No?
If you make a screenshot of your Safari screen, it would all capture all the text in there as well.
Yeah, I can show that.
Say you have your bank account open in your Safari or your Google Chrome.
Yeah, you open your bank account.
Then you make a screenshot and send to all of your friends.
Okay, so as you can see, it's just a Google search. So this is a little hit and miss with some of the web pages, and this is something this is what I've been focusing on, is trying to get consistency a little bit better. So we'll see what this does. It's not bad, actually. So things that it didn't understand. We can see up at the top right away the web address. That's something that you might want to hide. You can also see that randomly it grabs some things like from the status bar, which is kind of weird because they're clearly images, but the OCR engine doesn't really understand that. It thought that they were literally letters. But you can see throughout there that it actually picked out a lot of things. Like, you have Google, it didn't know, like, Google's not an English word, so that one got marked in red. Things like mobile-friendly, that's not a word. It really registers as all one thing, even though mobile and friendly are, so it redacted that. So generally I would say on this page that I think it did a fairly good job finding things that might not be something you intended to share, even though in this situation posting a screenshot of your search is probably not very unsafe.
Is it learning words over time, things that you want to hide or things that are okay?
Well, now that Google opened their, so that would be cool, but that's a lot of work for a phone to do, and I'm really sketchy on being like, hey, you want to give me internet access so I can, upload all the stuff? So probably not, unless somebody comes up with something really clever that doesn't take a lot of horsepower. So I would like to. It is all dictionary backed. I use something called MapDB, which is disk-based collection storage. So what I have is just sets of words on disk that at runtime get loaded up real fast, and that's what I actually use to identify if words are good or bad. So it is completely possible that I can have like user-defined words, that you could share words maybe through a web service, and people could like download that. And then the other thing is language support. Tesseract actually supports lots of languages, so that would be something that I would want to bring on in the future once I get this working a little bit better. And most of it in the code is pretty configurable, so I'm just getting through those steps right now. Anybody else?
So when it blocks out a word or crosses out, is it always going to be the same color?
No, that's something else that I want to be configurable. I mean, there's the government black would be probably the default, right. But there's a lot of different things that you can do there, right? Like you could do the TV blur, you could do like a Gaussian blur across it. I'm planning on having several options.
Okay, would that be to all the words, or would you be able to do specific words? So, for example, you'll see Facebook comments a lot where they'll have like a color for someone that's commenting. So all those comments that person made, it will be red, and the next person will be blue. Would something like that be possible? I don't know the complexity of something like that.
The one thing that I was gonna add was that when you select one word, like I don't know if like Wikipedia search on there is listed twice in that top one. When you select one, you probably want to get rid of both of them. So like by default, like things like that would happen. But as far as doing multiple things on one, maybe, but the controls will probably be a little weird for that.
Right.
So not against it, but that's a good idea. Anybody? No? Well, thank you.
Alright, give me 1 second to get up.
Thanks, Sergio. Oh.
We'll make them watch the video later. Alright. So, as you guys can tell, for those who are not in that dev Slack, pretty much see how valuable that is, that tool itself, because you're able to ask a lot of questions, you're able to be involved with everybody in the community, all of us developers in the community, I should say. So, Mike said it'd be faster if it was Samsung.
What?
Mike said it'd be faster if it was Samsung.
Actually, it's not. The larger the screen, the longer it takes. So.
Oh my god, there's so many things we could say to that.
Yeah.
That's generally how it works. Oh yeah, that's a good question. So we asked how long it took to build it. I think right now my tally is 3 whiskeys and like 5 beers. So that's like 4 nights, I think. Roughly. It's like 4 or 5 nights.
4 or 5 days, you know, that's all. Alright. So I'm gonna stop this YouTube. By the way, the 2 of you, this is the shortest YouTube video I think I've ever done.
You're welcome.
It's 33 minutes.
Quite possibly the longest meetup I've ever been to.
See, but now we have more time for beer.
Exactly.
Hey.
I don't have to kick you guys out quicker.